What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we'll be doing a full comparison between Samsung's newest A series phones, the A51 and the A71. Now, these devices have slowly started to roll out both here in the US and internationally, and as they become more available, especially in the carrier and prepaid space, I have a feeling that a lot of folks will be picking one of these two devices as their next phone. The tough part now is just deciding which one to go with. And hopefully I can help you guys with that decision in this video. Each of these devices has their own pros and cons, differing features, and specific selling points that might make them a better choice for you depending on your needs. And I'm gonna try to go over everything you need to know in this video. And if you're interested in doing some comparison shopping of your own, or wanna pick one of these devices up for yourself, I'll have links to where you can buy them at their cheapest prices down below in the video description, so be sure to check down there. First off, let's talk about pricing and availability with these two phones, since that's probably the first thing a lot of people will consider. Now, pricing is still a little blurry right now with these phones, especially depending on where in the world you're located, but at least at the time of filming this video, the A51 is available from places like Amazon and B&H Photo unlocked for around $300, and there are some decent bundle deals bumping up the price just a bit. The A71 is the more expensive device, with Amazon having it listed right now for just under $450, though I have actually seen it even cheaper than that on eBay if you shop there. While the prices for these phones don't seem to be totally finalized yet, the consensus obviously is that the A51 is the cheaper device and will likely save you anywhere between $100 to $150 over the A71. However, the A71 does offer some decent specs and features that might make the extra cost well worth it. So let's get into what sets these phones apart. The first thing you'll notice right away is that the sizes of these two devices differ just a bit. The A51 is a 6.5-inch device, while the A71 is a little bit bigger at 6.7 inches. To be totally honest though, the extra screen real estate you get by going with the A71 isn't super noticeable. You can see that with these phones side by side, it's not like there's a huge difference. It's certainly not like going from a standard size device to a plus size device like on an iPhone or S series phone. It's not that drastic. And in fact, at least for me, one-handed use is pretty unaffected. The little extra size and screen real estate doesn't impact how I might use the phone. So in that regard, I don't find it to be a negative thing or really something that affects my use. And furthermore, I can't imagine it's that much of a positive or big benefit either, since the difference is so small. Beyond the actual screen size, the rest of the dimensions and form factor for these phones are pretty close, just a few millimeters off in certain places. But all in all, with the size of the phones themselves, it's more a matter of personal preference than anything else, and I don't feel the differing screen sizes to be that much of a deciding factor. There's also no real difference in the screen hardware either, for that matter. Both phones offer a great looking Super AMOLED panel, though the A71 attaches the Plus description on its spec sheet, but I personally can't tell a difference. They're the same resolution, 1080 by 2400, and both covered in Gorilla Glass 3. Of course, with the different sizes, the pixels per inch vary ever so slightly, but again, if there is a difference in displays at all, it's not something I can tell. Side by side, the colors look the same to me, and they're both great looking devices by themselves. I think Samsung is easily the leader in display technology when it comes to budget and mid-range phones specifically, and I've been really impressed with what they can offer with these A-series phones. Also, both phones still retain their in-display fingerprint readers, and as far as I know, there aren't any changes or differences or upgrades here. The only thing to note is that both phones do ship with a pre-installed screen protector out of the box that I think does have some effect on the accuracy and consistency of unlocking via the fingerprint. So if you're having trouble with it like I have been, you might want to tear off that plastic film covering the display. Design-wise, everything is pretty much identical. Even though you're paying a bit of a premium for the A71, you're still getting a plastic build with a polished chrome frame, and while both of these phones still feel pretty good in the hand, they don't give off that flagship vibe. They're certainly not cheap feeling by any means, though. There's some decent weight to them, and I love the look overall too. Samsung has decided to keep going with these fun colors and shimmering rainbow effects across the back, which I think is awesome. And as far as the color options, you're getting the same choices no matter what you go with. Black, white, blue, or pink all with that shimmering reflective effect and a little bit of crisscross pattern across the back that's pretty subtle. As far as the other physical features, the button placements are basically the same, volume and power both on the right side, and the SD card and SIM tray alone on the left. Underneath, both phones retain the headphone jack and have a single downward-facing speaker, as well as a USB-C port. And on that note, I do want to mention two differences in the accessories that come in the box. As far as the wired earbuds, the A71 ships with a nicer pair that have replacement in-ear rubber tips, while the A51 seems to have this old-school all-plastic design. I can't imagine anyone using either of these earbuds anyway, but I just thought I'd mention it. And as far as the wall adapters, the A51 supports 15-watt fast charging, while the A71 bumps things up to the super fast 25-watt speeds. And that's what you'll see out of the box as well. The A51 has the 15-watt plug, and you get that 25-watt faster charger with the A71. And as far as the actual battery capacities are concerned, the A51 packs a 4,000 milliamp battery, while the A71 is powered by a slightly larger 4,500 milliamp capacity. Now, you shouldn't read too much into that because the slightly larger screen size and more powerful specs on the A71 means that you'll likely won't be getting a huge difference in longevity. And on that note, let's talk about those internal specs because this is where I think the major differences can be seen. First off, the A51 packs Samsung's own Exynos 9611 processor, a Mali G72 GPU, and either 4 gigs or 6 gigs of RAM, depending on which model you go with. On the other hand, the A71 is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 730 chip, and either 6 gigs or 8 gigs of RAM, depending on the model you choose again. So obviously, on paper, the A71 offers significantly more. The Snapdragon 730 is the same processor we saw in the A80 last year, which was a pretty good phone. And while it's not exactly a flagship component, it's probably the selling point with this device in my opinion. Coupled with a better GPU and more RAM, the A71 is going to be faster, both in everyday use when launching apps and performing different tasks, and will also be able to handle more overall, with lots of apps loaded in the background, graphic-heavy games, multitasking, whatever the case may be. Now, out of the box, you can see that the difference isn't always night and day. The A51 is still a really solid phone, and it's going to be able to handle nearly everything the average person throws at it. But in my opinion, the better specs on the A71 are one of the two main reasons why I think this phone is worth the extra dollars. It's not only going to perform faster and better in the short term, but I think it'll also be a better long-term investment as well. Again, I don't mean to totally hate on the A51. We aren't talking about some crazy significant difference after all that should keep you away from the cheaper option. But I think the specs are more of a deciding factor here than pretty much anything else. Either way you look at it though, these are good, solid phones with a software experience that props them up even further. They both get Android 10 right out of the box and Samsung One UI 2. And while I can't speak for any carrier versions yet, the unlocked and international versions of these devices, at least, don't come jam-packed with a whole lot of junk. Mostly just some pre-installed Google, Samsung, and Microsoft apps, but you can still take advantage of most of the built-in storage these phones ship with anyway, either 64 or 128 gigs, depending on the device again, and the SD card expansion offered on both of these phones is a great addition too. Beyond the difference in internal specs, the second biggest factor that might affect your purchase decision with these phones has to do with the cameras. Now, with the A-series devices this year, Samsung put a heavy focus on making these the best set of lenses ever on a budget or mid-range device. You get 4 different shooters on each phone. The main difference is the primary lens, a 48 megapixel setup on the A51 and a 64 megapixel lens on the A71. Aside from that though, the rest of the setup is the same. 12 megapixel ultra-wide, 5 megapixel depth sensor for live focus shooting, and a brand new macro lens for up-close photography. Overall, once again, the A71 is going to be the better picture and video taker, both because of the higher spec lenses and because of the better internals I mentioned earlier to help process the shots. However, feature-wise, you don't lack anything by going with the A51 at all. You still get everything: live focus, night mode, wide angle, pro controls. At least on the software side of things, there doesn't appear to be a single missing feature or setting on the A51. But in practice, in the real world, the A71 is going to consistently be taking better shots. Now, if you're a fan of selfies, this might be some worthwhile info too. While the actual specs of the front-facing camera appear to be the same for the A51 and A71, at least as far as I can tell, I've found that for whatever reason, selfies tend to look better when taken on the A71. Again, the specs seem to be the same, even though the size of the camera cutout differs for some reason, but in practice, there's noticeably more detail coming from the A71. I might have to just attribute that to the better processor on the A71, once again, like I said, which might be able to offer better photography overall, regardless of the specs. But if you guys can offer a better reason or a more detailed explanation, feel free to let me know. So now here's the question: which phone should you go with, the A51 or the A71? Personally, I'm leaning towards the A71 mainly because of those better internal specs. I think considering the price difference isn't so drastic, the extra investment is worth it. However, I do realize that while the price is only $100 to $150 more, that's still potentially a 25% premium, which might be out of the question for some people. If you can't justify the extra cost, the A51 is still going to be an awesome phone, and you should definitely go for it. But I think the A71 is more than 25% better than the A51, which is why I'd personally recommend it. So there you go. That's everything you need to know about the new Samsung Galaxy A51 and A71 phones. If you're thinking about picking one of these devices up, let me know which one you go with, and if you have one already, I'd love to know how you're liking it so far too. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.